it was another Raptors win, 97-95 against the Indiana Pacers. And look, I am not going to try and find things to be upset about. When the Raptors won 9 games in a row, they win another one here. They go 4-0 in the NBA Cup group stage. They secure home court advantage for the quarterfinals of the NBA Cup. Listen, I'm a happy man here. The Raptors are winning games. It's been great. But amidst this winning run, I think it's fair to say, and it includes this game against the Pacers, I think it's fair to say the Raptors have had a lot of games where they have not really played to their best and have had some pretty sloppy games. Now, they've won in spite of that, but does it pose a potential worrying trend to this team going forward, especially once the schedule starts to get a bit harder? And again, I'm not like fishing for things to be upset about, but like if you were to have watched the Raptors all 9 times in this 9-game win streak, and maybe you had the scoreboard turned off and you didn't watch like the last 10 seconds of the game to know who won, you might think that this was probably a winning run, but maybe not 9-0, maybe more like 5-4, or probably more likely 6-3. I don't think the Raptors have played maybe well enough all 9 times to have won all 9 games, but they have done it anyway. And there's a couple of ways that you can look at this. And the first way you can look at this is the Raptors haven't played particularly well in some of these games. They played great in some of them. There's been a few of them where they maybe haven't played so well. And you wonder, okay, is there a little bit of luck involved with this 9-game win streak? I think for any 9-game win streak, there has to be a bit of luck. But is there like a little bit too much luck involved in this to be sustainable for the rest of the season? That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is, oh my God, the Raptors are so good right now that even when they don't play well, they're still finding ways to win, and they are winning ugly. So there's 2 ways to frame it, and we're going to talk about the recent run of games, and we're going to talk about whether or not it's the first one for us or the second one for us, the former or the latter. So amidst this 9-game win streak, the Raptors have got themselves up to the 2nd seed and have maintained it, even through a 6-game win streak for the Miami Heat, who are nipping on our heels, 1 game back of us. We have stayed ahead of them, 14-5 in the season. And now we're only 1.5 games back of the Detroit Pistons after the Pistons had a recent loss to the Boston Celtics, ending their incredible winning run. Pistons have, well, actually, the Pistons, I think, lost 2 recently. No, they had the big winning run, and they lost again to the Boston Celtics there. Anyways, moving forward here. Listen, it's been extraordinarily impressive. Please, I'm not trying to diminish the accomplishment here for this Raptors team winning 9 games in a row. However, if you look into like the win streak here, let's say, for example, this one against the Brooklyn Nets, and this was the start of the win streak. This was a really nervy game. The Raptors did not start well and did not play particularly well overall, but kind of were able to do enough against a very bad Brooklyn team to get over the line. You know, they were able to dominate the possession battle. They were able to score enough on the inside, but it wasn't a pretty game. And it was one they really needed because they were back at 5-5, and it was against a 1-10 Brooklyn Nets team, a 1-9 Brooklyn Nets team at the time. And it kind of felt like that one had to go. And it ended up going, and, you know, it's kind of sparked this win streak. But again, throughout the rest of this, there was a quite poor performance against the Charlotte Hornets, which they eked out in the end. It took a really big play from Brandon Ingram to pass to RJ Barrett and a good finish to take the lead in the end. And it took a comeback to even get to that position. And then it took 2 blocks in the final possession for the Hornets for the Raptors to get over this and avoid overtime. It wasn't fantastic there. It was another kind of slog of a game against the Brooklyn Nets as well to win the game. And then it was a rough start against the Cavs, which turned into a fantastic second half, but a rough start. And then just a pretty rough game apart from a 22-0 run, I think it was, for the Raptors. So again, we're kind of seeing these pockets of game strategy, or maybe even full game scenarios where maybe they're struggling to get stops. Maybe they're struggling to put pressure on the rim. And if they're struggling to do that and teams are kind of packing the paint, the Raptors aren't hitting threes, which was a bit of a theme against the Pacers. The Pacers were able to pack the paint. We weren't knocking down enough shots to make them pay for it and expose them and stretch out the floor enough. But amidst these games, we've seen some fragilities within this Raptors team. And there are some elements of luck, which I've spoken about a lot on this channel. There are some elements of luck to some of the Raptors' defense in this stretch. I felt like the offense has been very sustainable, but there are some elements to the defense that have been a bit luck-driven, such as, when you look at the placement of shots, of expected effective field goal percentage against, where, getting fancy here, but the Raptors have been relatively lucky in that category. They have one of the best three-point defense in the league, which part of that is their good defense. Part of that does seem to me to be a little bit luck-driven, but most of what the Raptors have done here is sustainable this season, and they're still finding ways to win games. So for me, going back to something I covered in the previous stream is the sustainability of what the Raptors are doing. I feel like a lot of it is very sustainable. And just from watching the Raptors team of previous years fumble so many of these late game situations, we are definitely going to go with the latter and say that, I think what's more impressive about this win streak, it would have been more impressive if they were just dominant in all 9 games. But I think what is impressive about this win streak is the fact that the Raptors don't have to play well, and they're still finding ways to win games. Even in games they are not playing well, they are staying within touching distance, and they're able to find ways to play well in the clutch scenarios to get over the line. Because that has been a bit of a theme for a lot of these games. It's been not necessarily a great game or performance, but they locked in and played really well in the clutch. They did it in this game against the Charlotte Hornets, which needed a bit of a fight back. They did it in this game against the Pacers, which, the Pacers are making a comeback, and the Raptors found something in the clutch. This game, they only won by 11 against the Cavaliers here. Raptors, it was a 4-point game in the clutch, and the Raptors came through. Even this Philly game, the Raptors, it was a really tight game in the clutch, and they ended up winning by 9. I think it's very impressive that when the going gets tough and it comes to the biggest moments of the games, the Raptors are able to push through and find some really good performances. And I think it's a testament to the way the roster is built right now, with so much talent amassed into the starting 5, so many talented players amassed into the starting 5, that it's kind of a pick your poison scenario where, the go-to guy is obviously Brandon Ingram, and he's got us over the line in a few of these games. But if you want to double Brandon Ingram, that's going to leave another player who's maybe in some all-star caliber conversations this season, like Scotty Barnes, open, or a player like RJ Barrett is a 20-point-per-game player, or Emmanuel Quickley, who even when he's not playing well, feels like he's hitting big shots in the clutch, and he's a talented player, $32.5 million point guard. It is what it is there, but there's so much talent amassed in this team that the Raptors have been able to find ways to win in clutch scenarios, even with a starting 5 that as a whole has gotten better as the season has gone on, but tend to start games poorly. They get it done in the big moments. So in the toughest moments of the games, the Raptors are thriving. And that is definitely why, for me, it is a testament to being a good team that the Raptors can play poorly and still find ways to win. I always consider that to be, I'm not going to know, this is... We're going to use a very big word here, but that to me is the mark of a champion. You have to be able to win games when you're not playing well. I'm not saying the Raptors are necessarily championship contenders. I know they're second in the East. I'm not saying the Raptors are necessarily championship contenders, but oftentimes teams that do go on to win championships, and there's teams better than us who are doing it too this season, but those are the teams that find ways to win in those tough situations where things aren't going well, things aren't going your way. They find a way to get over the line. The Raptors have done that so much this season, which is why I find it truly impressive that they're able to win in spite of that. As for the upcoming schedule, it's starting to get a bit harder. Maybe not with the Charlotte Hornets game on Saturday. And if you may be watching this after that game, and who knows what the Raptors did in that game. They almost lost to them at home, so they could easily lose them away as well. And there's some tough games against the Knicks, the Blazers, the Lakers, Celtics twice, Milwaukee coming up. There's some tough games on the schedule coming up. So in these games, the Raptors won't have the luxury of just keeping the pace and finding a way to figure it out later on in the game. They may have to be a bit more dialed in. So we'll have some more information on just how good this Raptors team is as we go through this stretch of games. But for now, we've won 9 in a row. That's fantastic. And even when the Raptors aren't playing at their best, they're finding ways to win. And I consider that more so the mark of a good team rather than having luck on your side. Maybe there's an element of both, but to me, more of it is indeed the fact that the Raptors might just have a really good basketball team here.